welcome back, Oklahoma City. Lost you in that fourth quarter of game one. But it's nice to have you back. It's nice to have you back here with Hoops with Tyler DeLuca as well. I literally just got home from this game. I'm still rocking the shirt. I'm not hiding who I'm rooting for here. Look, it's no secret. You can call it a biased Thunder recap if you will, but we're talking game two. We're talking Oklahoma City tying up this NBA Finals series, and truly, to me, a return to form of what they do best. Because even in that game one, yes, the fourth quarter, it was a walk down, and it was nasty, and obviously leading to that game winner by Tyrese Haliburton. But in game two, I think it served as a bit of a reminder about just why this team is so good, and there was still room to improve, which is what is so scary about this team. But let's talk about it. First off, I want to start with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and we're gonna get that talk out of the way because as I was on the ride home, I was listening to Mark Daigneault's press conference after the game, and he described this performance in a way that I thought was super interesting, unsurprising, and that is what it's these type of performances, like the one we got from SGA tonight, 34 points, 11 and 21. 8 assists, 4 steals, 5 rebounds. It's unsurprising. We've grown accustomed to this. But as I was also just on the ride home, I'm pulling up the bookmarks from Twitter. Because the amount of since blank year, and it's a ridiculous SGA stat, there's a whole list of them. I mean, most points scored in the first two career NBA Finals games. Passing Allen Iverson, 72 points in total. Most games with 30 points and 5 assists in one postseason run, tied with LeBron James and Michael Jordan. You might have heard of them. 12th player with 3,000 combined points in the regular season and postseason. Second player with at least 3,000 points, 600 assists, 150 steals, 80 blocks in a season. It's SGA and Michael Jordan doing that. Most player to score 30-plus points in 9 straight home playoff games. It's Shai and Wilt Chamberlain. You realize how hard it is to get into these history books with Wilt Chamberlain? That dude's everywhere. It's like Candace Parker on the women's side. That guy is everywhere. I mean, I don't want to downplay just how good Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was in this game. And it's become an interesting trend over the course of these game twos, right? Not that he's played bad in game ones, but it's certainly been a bit more of a feel out for SGA in the Minnesota series and the Denver series. And then these game twos come, and it's just like he's almost downloaded the other team in a super interesting way where he then can just absolutely tear them apart. And that's what happened tonight. He tore this defense apart, getting to the rim, getting to his mid-range. It's unsurprising. As Mark Daigneault said, it's unsurprising, but that doesn't, I don't want that to undo just how ridiculous this is. But I wanted to get SGA out the way first because I think that this game completely swung actually when SGA was on the bench and when Tyrese Haliburton was on the bench in the second quarter. And that was led by Jalen Williams, J-Dub. 19 points in this game, 5 of 14, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. Not like the most incredible game by any means, but after the first quarter where I thought him and Chet both still looked a little bit rattled and needed to settle into the series a bit, I thought in those minutes where J-Dub has led those non-SGA minutes, being more ball dominant, he went and carried that team and helped build a lead and sustain a lead, going on a massive run with Haliburton on the bench. And we're going to talk about Hallie in a minute here, but just that is, from a Thunder perspective, what you're wanting to see. And he just said in his press conference, I think it was yesterday, where he's like, I don't even think about being a third-year player because then that provides an excuse from the pressure, and he welcomes that pressure, and that is what it felt like today, is that he welcomed that pressure. I thought Chet Holmgren was also much better in this game. 6 of 11, 15 points for him, 6 rebounds. Like, you don't need the world, and especially when your bench plays the way it does, which we're about to talk about, but it felt like after that first quarter especially, both of them really settled in. And again, the way J-Dub led that kind of second unit, and when SGA went to the bench in that second quarter, and just again continued to provide and build on the lead that Oklahoma City had built, especially in minutes without Haliburton on the floor for Indiana, it was massive. And that is what you need from Jalen Williams. It's if you can lead those let's see, Shai played 36 minutes tonight. That second quarter, and then that early part of the fourth quarter. That's when you need Jalen Williams to shine the most. And I felt like he really did that today. And I was incredibly impressed. Maybe not the most impressed, though. Aaron Wiggins saved basketball. Aaron Wiggins saved the Oklahoma City Thunder. Aaron Wiggins saved me. And that's not even talking about Alex Caruso. The bench scoring on this. Alex Caruso outscored any player individually on the Indiana Pacers tonight. Alex Caruso had 20. Aaron Wiggins had 18. He was a plus 24. He's 5 of 8 from 3. I'm not saying you're expecting that every night from Aaron Wiggins, but what a legacy game for Aaron Wiggins. And I thought it was really interesting. And in Daigneault's post-game press conference, it was something that was noted in this, is that, yes, you still start off small. And we saw a little bit of the double big lineup with Chet and Hartenstein, but not a ton in this game. And so you're still playing with one big, but you're playing with more size on the wings, right? We saw Aaron Wiggins, we saw Alex Caruso, we saw a bit more Kenrich Williams, not an insane amount, but 8 minutes from him as well. And just being more intent on providing a bit more size on the wings instead of going smaller. Look, you look at these lineups. Casey Wallace, 23 minutes. Alex Caruso, 27. Aaron Wiggins, 21. That size on the perimeter, while still being able to keep up the defensive intensity whenever you're pairing them with Jalen Williams or Lou Dort or whoever that is. And certainly Alex Caruso and Aaron Wiggins are very, very capable defenders on their own as well. But you're pairing them up with them, and that size, and especially as you're kind of trying to see the Pacers continue to find that Pascal Siakam switch and the seals, and when you just simply have more size on the court, it doesn't enable them to do that as easy, and you're really not giving up much on the perimeter in that as well. So I thought that was a very smart adjustment, and you're not expecting 20 Alex Caruso points and 18 points from Aaron Wiggins every night, but what they were able to give in this game was absolutely the difference maker in this. And that's part of what, when I mean the Thunder returning to form, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, Shai was fantastic as he was. Dub and Chet did their thing, but it's the ridiculous depth that this team has and the ability to just put you in hell on the defensive side of the ball. And it wasn't the same amount of turnovers as last game. In fact, it was 15 turnovers for Indiana, so not the worst by any means. It was above average for them, but especially after we saw in that game one, which obviously ended up not mattering, but that's a very big improvement on taking care of the ball. But I still felt like Oklahoma City's defense today was just so good in that way, and I thought a lot of that had to do with the size they were playing with. But to kind of think about some of the other switches that I saw just from a perspective of what was learned from game one, I thought one thing that was super interesting was the lack of transition points for both teams in this game. I'll give the exact stat. It was fast break points, 9 for Indiana, 4 for OKC. That's something that both these teams do pretty damn well, right? And I talked about it in the preview before this series, and that was not something that happened today. And I think that certainly benefited Oklahoma City, where you're forcing Indiana to play in the half court. You're not seeing those get-ahead passes that Tyrese Haliburton is so good at when he just gets the ball and just gets it down the court, even if it's not an immediate fast break in the kind of stereotypical way you're thinking of an open layup or an open dunk, but it's the throw-ahead passes that just gets things started so quickly, and you didn't really see that at all in this game, and I thought, again, that was a major benefit to Oklahoma City in this one. I also thought, again, as I mentioned, the Pascal switches I thought were a lot better with more size on the court. I also thought early on in this game, you saw a couple open corner threes, which is a shot that over the course of this entire season, Oklahoma City has been very willing to give up. But I thought in this one, you saw, probably around that second quarter mark, honestly, you saw them kind of go and truly try and contest the majority of those threes. And you again, that's been a shot that Oklahoma City's been pretty comfortable giving up over the course of this season in its entirety, not just this series. It felt like tonight that they made a decision to go and truly kind of go and contest those, right? And you look at it just up and down Indiana shoots 35% from 3. Aaron Nesmith is 4 of 8. Haliburton 3 of 8. And then you're seeing a lot of 1s and 4s, 1s and 5s across some of the role players that were just Obi Toppin 1 of 8 over the course of this game, right? Miles Turner 6 of 12 overall, but 1 of 5 from 3. Nemhard 104 from 3. Like those are probably some numbers that you're pretty cool with living with in that way, especially after some of the threes that were being hit. But ultimately, I think from an Indiana perspective, you need more from Tyrese Haliburton. This has been kind of the hesitancy, I think, for a lot of people when it comes to calling Haliburton a superstar in this league and one of the top point guards. I think he's certainly up there as one of the top point guards. I don't think we can really debate that anymore. But there has to be a level of consistency and reliability of being able to go and get your own bucket. And I don't think it's a thing of Haliburton not going or being capable of getting his own bucket. It's just not happening. And certainly he is the focus of Oklahoma City's defense. And I think a lot of times when he's making these passes, he's making the quote unquote right play, right? But he ends with 17. A lot of that came in the fourth quarter when this lead was 20 and they just weren't able to perform whatever voodoo magic has been working for Indiana so far over the course of his playoffs to try and build a comeback. And then honestly kind of pulled the starters pretty early around the 4-minute mark when it was still like a teens game. And again, with everything the Pacers have been able to do, I was kind of surprised by that from Rick Carlisle. But ultimately, especially when the minutes without Haliburton in that second quarter were just so brutal, you kind of needed to have him come in and hit the ground running. And that just never happened. I mean, anytime you're able to force 5 turnovers out of Tyrese Haliburton and holding him to 6 assists, you're going to feel very good about that. And again, he ended up 7 of 13 with 17 points, but though they weren't very impactful points, if you will. Again, the lead had already been built, and there wasn't much momentum to go and make that happen and trying to make that comeback. So going forward from a Pacers perspective, unfortunately, you're kind of forced to, in certain ways, if you're in a game like this, of this style, you need Tyrese to go and get his from a points perspective. And certainly you're hoping that you're getting more from Pascal Siakam as well, 3 of 11 from him. But like, it felt like Tyrese Haliburton being there in the arena, the impact was not felt. And again, you got some of the points in the fourth quarter, but single digits going into that quarter is not going to cut it on a night like this. And especially when the others, as I mentioned, your players, your role players on this Indiana team that have really stepped up at different times over the course of this playoffs, if they're not hitting, then what? And to me, that then what for Indiana has to be Tyrese Haliburton, and it wasn't there tonight. But I'm very excited to see how Indiana responds because, yes, I see people on Twitter talking about like, 2001 where Philly wins game 1 and then the Lakers go and win 4 straight. I don't know if we're getting that. I'm not saying that. I'm not, because this Indiana team just continuously has found a way over the course of these playoffs. But if Oklahoma City gets, whether it's more from the other 2 of the big 3 outside of SGA, if it's continuous different role players stepping up in the way they did tonight, that is what makes this team so dangerous, is how many ways they can beat you. And a lot of that starts with the foundation of how good their defense is. So if Oklahoma City is back to form, if you will, it's going to be tough. It's going to be an uphill battle, but again, I'm not counting the Pacers out. So make sure you stay tapped in here. I'm going to have reactions over the course of this entire series. Yes, a bit biased, sue me, okay? But make sure you're subscribed here for Hoopsa with Tyler DeLuca. Like, comment, let me know. What would you do if you're Rick Carlisle? What is the change that you're looking to see from Indiana going into Game 3 in Indiana? I'm very excited for the rest of the series. So make sure you stay tapped in here, and I'll see you next time.